Some places in California do not bury their secrets, they leave them exposed, lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for anyone to venture too close. From towering mountains that kiss the snow to the coastal waters where time seems to stand still, the state holds countless stories that refuse to be forgotten. These are not tales of the past, but mysteries that continue to unfold, lingering in the wind, whispered from the deep shadows of the desert and the forgotten edges of the ocean. You think you know this land, do not you? You have seen its sun-drenched landscapes, its sprawling cities, its endless highways that stretch out under the blue sky. But there is more. Behind those familiar scenes, there are hidden truths, secrets that challenge everything we know about reality. They are out there, just beyond the horizon, waiting for someone brave enough to uncover them. Lock your doors, slip on your headphones, and whatever you do, do not look back. Because once you start listening, you will never see California the same way again. Mystery number 1. Joshua Tree National Park, the Vanishing Hikers. Joshua Tree National Park is a place of otherworldly beauty. With its towering, gnarled Joshua trees and boulder piles that seem to rise out of the earth like ancient monuments, it is a park that captivates those who wander its vast desert stretches. It is the kind of place where the air feels different, heavy with the silence, where time slows down as the endless horizon draws you in. But beneath the stillness, there is an unsettling secret. For decades, hikers have gone missing here. Not one or two, but dozens. And their disappearances do not follow any clear pattern. In a place that is meticulously mapped and documented, it is impossible to explain how people, well-prepared, experienced, simply vanish. One of the first known cases happened in 1947. A prospector named Ed Hilton was trekking across a dry wash near Queen Valley when he saw fresh boot tracks in the dust. He followed them for a while, the prints clear and easy to track. But then something strange happened. After just 50 yards, the prints stopped. They did not fade away. They did not get blown by the wind. They simply ended, as if the hiker had stepped off the face of the earth. Park rangers searched the area for 2 days, combing through the dry desert landscape, looking for any sign of Hilton. There was nothing. No broken branches, no disturbed sand, no evidence of struggle. The man was never found. Over the years, the stories continued. In 1975, a couple camping in Hidden Valley saw a man walking alone at dusk, wearing a red jacket. They waved, but he did not respond, and his movements were strange, like he was trying not to be noticed. The next day, when they hiked the same trail, they were swept into a full-scale search operation. Rangers were looking for a man in a red jacket, a man who had been reported missing days earlier. In 2010, 2 experienced hikers, Laura and James, checked into the park. They were fully equipped with water, maps, and food, ready for a desert adventure. But they never returned. Their car was found at the trailhead, all their supplies intact. A massive search was launched, but no trace of the hikers was ever found. Search teams, including helicopters with thermal imaging, scoured the area. They found a few scuffed patches of dirt, but then, nothing. No footprints, no signs of life. Weeks later, a park volunteer claimed to have seen 2 figures on a distant ridge, one of them wearing a white hat. It matched James' gear, but when a rescue team arrived, the figures were gone, and once again, there were no footprints to follow. And this was not the only strange case. Over the years, many hikers disappeared near certain rock formations, especially around deep, narrow cracks, places that were too small for a person to enter. And yet, search dogs would lead rescuers straight to these spots, only to stop, whine, and refuse to go any further. What was it about these places that made the dogs so uncomfortable? Local lore whispers of old mining tunnels beneath the desert, some of which are uncharted and run for miles. Others speak of strange sky holes, unexplained downdrafts, and light distortions caused by heat shimmer that warp the horizon. Could these natural anomalies be causing people to become disoriented, leading them into the heart of the desert to disappear? Then there is the more unsettling possibility that some hikers are not getting lost at all. They are being taken. UFO sightings have been reported in Joshua Tree for decades. And in 2018, a ranger recalled a search where his team followed GPS coordinates toward a heat signature seen by a helicopter. When they arrived at the spot, there was nothing. The signature had vanished. The heat had been moving against the wind before it disappeared altogether. Joshua Tree is a place of contradictions. Its beauty is blinding, yet its silence is deafening. Some hikers return, but others, they just vanish. And the desert does not offer up its secrets easily. No one knows for sure if these hikers are lost, or if they have been taken by something out there in the wilderness, waiting just beyond the horizon. Mystery number 2. The ghost submarine of San Pedro Bay. Off the coast of California, in the dark waters of San Pedro Bay, something moves silently beneath the surface. It is not on sonar. It is not in any naval registry. But those who have come too close, fishermen, divers, and even Navy crews, know it is there. And when it passes beneath your boat, you feel it. The presence. The shadow. It is impossible to ignore. The first reports began during World War II in 1942. Coastal defenses were on high alert after the Japanese attacks on the west coast. A Navy patrol craft, scanning the waters off the California coast, spotted what they believed to be an enemy submarine about 2 miles offshore. In a desperate attempt to prevent an attack, they dropped depth charges into the water. The ocean exploded in foam. But when the bubbles cleared, there was no sign of the submarine, no debris, no wreckage, just an eerie silence and a lingering vibration under the hull, as if something was moving away at an unnatural speed. This was only the beginning. In 1969, a group of sport fishermen out on the bay reported something even stranger. They were being shadowed by a massive, dark mass, moving with them for over 20 minutes, keeping pace alongside their boat. The depth finder showed nothing. No readings, no sonar pings. It was as if the object was invisible to their instruments. When they tried to turn towards the mass, it darted away and disappeared into deeper waters. Just like that, it was gone. By the 1980s, the rumors of the ghost submarine were becoming too frequent to ignore. Divers from local clubs began sharing their own encounters. One diver, Mark L., told the Los Angeles Herald about a moment in 1984 when he and his partner were exploring a known wreck site off the coast of San Pedro Bay. They were shocked when a massive, smooth hull appeared out of the murky depths, looming before them. It did not look old. It was not rusted. In fact, it appeared far too pristine, too modern for the waters it was in. When they tried to approach the object, it vanished as quickly as it had appeared. No trace, no sign, nothing to explain it. Officially, the Navy has dismissed these sightings. They point to false sonar returns, marine life misidentifications, or malfunctioning sensors. But for those who have experienced it, there is no denying something is out there, something that should not be. And it is not just a simple shadow on the water. There is something about it that feels wrong, as if it is watching you, waiting for you to get too close. One of the most compelling encounters came in 2003 when a retired sonar technician who had served on the USS Salt Lake City shared his own experience. He claimed to have tracked a solid object 300 feet long, moving at 20 knots on sonar, but when it vanished from the display, it did so in a way that defied explanation. There was no turning, no diving, just a sudden disappearance. It was as if the object had slipped out of existence. Theories about what this ghost submarine could be run the gamut from experimental military craft to paranormal activity. Some believe San Pedro Bay is home to a vortex, a zone where electromagnetic anomalies occur, warping reality. Others think it could be an unknown submarine, still active but classified, a relic of some decades-old military program. But in 2015, a recreational diver named Sarah G. captured something that made even the most hardened skeptics take notice. She filmed a massive, featureless shape that she initially thought was a passing whale. But when she looked closer, she realized it did not have the usual whale-like shape. It was symmetrical, with no fins, no tail movement, and no distinguishing features at all. The creature, or whatever it was, glided past her slowly and silently, vanishing into the dark water before she could get a better look. No one can explain it. And then there are the sounds. Several commercial fishermen have reported hearing low-frequency hums under their hulls in the exact same area. The hums are not mechanical. They do not match any known marine animal. They seem to come from the depths themselves, an unnatural vibration that fills the water. Marine biologists who have analyzed the sound can't match it to anything in the ocean's natural repertoire. The bay is full of life tankers, cruise ships, fishing boats, all traveling through this area every day. But ask enough captains, and you will find more than one who admits they give a wide berth to a certain stretch of water. Not because of shipping lanes or currents, but because sometimes, when the sun sets and the ocean turns black, a shadow moves beneath the surface, slower than a whale, larger than any known submarine, and absolutely silent. And if you are unlucky enough to be there when it surfaces, well, that is a mystery no one has ever solved, because no one's ever returned with proof. Mystery number 3, the Silent Stalker of Redwood National and State Parks. There is a place in Northern California where the tallest trees in the world rise so high that they seem to block out the very sky. The towering redwoods in Redwood National and State Parks are a marvel. Their massive trunks reaching up hundreds of feet into the air, their thick canopies casting long shadows over the forest floor. The air is cool and heavy, with the scent of pine and earth, and there is a quiet reverence in the forest until you hear it. Some say the silence is broken by the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, and just behind you. But it is not the crack of twigs or the rustle of leaves. It is something softer, more calculated. The footsteps of something that is not quite human. This is the legend of the Silent Stalker, a presence that some claim has been pacing hikers and rangers for over a century. The first written account comes from 1912, when a timber surveyor named Joseph H. Liam was mapping a track near the Klamath River. While working deep in the woods, he began to feel like he was being followed. He could not shake the sensation that someone or something was walking just behind him. At one point, he swore he caught sight of a figure moving between the trees, but whenever he tried to focus, it vanished into the shadows. Liam was not the only one. Over the years, other rangers and hikers have reported hearing footsteps that matched their own pace, as if something was carefully mirroring their every move. Even when the forest floor is soft with moss, or after rain has dampened the earth, these footsteps continue, steady, methodical, just beyond sight. In the 1970s, a ranger named Paul Whitford recorded one of the most unsettling encounters in his official log. He had been patrolling a closed section of trail after receiving reports of illegal camping. As the fog rolled in, he began to hear the unmistakable sound of footsteps behind him. He called out, identifying himself, but the footsteps continued, never answering. When he stopped, they stopped. When he moved, they followed. Whitford's log ends with a chilling line. Felt watched the entire hike back, never saw who or what it was. He left the area as quickly as he could, shaken by the experience. But the sightings did not stop there. In 2009, a backpacker named Linda Perez camped alone along an unmarked spur trail in the northern sector of the park. Around midnight, she awoke to the faint sound of breathing just outside her tent. It was slow and steady, too close for comfort. She called out, thinking it was another hiker, but there was no reply. Then she heard the footsteps, circling her tent slowly, deliberately, once, twice, 3 times. She did not unzip the flap. By dawn, when she emerged, there were no footprints, nothing. The ground was undisturbed, not a single sign of a human or animal presence. So what is behind these eerie encounters? Some suggest it is a rogue black bear, one that has learned to stalk rather than charge. Others believe it could be a predator, something not yet discovered by science. Perhaps a hybrid between man and beast, hiding deep in the untouched wilderness of the redwood forests. But there is another possibility, one that paranormal researchers are quick to point out. The consistency of the reports. The lack of vocal sounds, the intelligent pacing, and the unnerving feeling of being watched all seem to suggest something otherworldly. Many who have heard the footsteps also report missing time they will reach a trail marker hours later than they should have, as if time itself had been distorted. In 2017, 2 wildlife photographers set up audio recorders in one of the high incidence zones of the park. They captured 12 minutes of perfectly synchronized pacing, 22 steps, a pause, then another 22 steps repeated 6 times before stopping entirely. At no point did the microphones pick up the sound of retreating footsteps. It was as though the source had simply ceased to exist. The redwood forests are vast and maze-like. Their vertical walls of bark and narrow corridors of shadow make it easy to lose track of direction. And in the dense fog, it is easy to forget where you have been. Rangers often advise hikers that if they hear footsteps behind them in the forest, they should head toward a more populated trail, but even then, there is no guarantee the footsteps will stop. Some hikers have even claimed that the Silent Stalker follows them all the way back to the trailhead. The footsteps seem to match their pace, no matter how fast or slow they walk. Some have even said that the stalker does not seem to be limited by the confines of the forest at all. It moves faster than they can see, and sometimes it stays with them until they return to civilization. The Redwood National and State Parks are beautiful, yes, but they are also dangerous. The land is ancient, and it holds secrets that humans may never fully understand. As you walk among the towering trees, remember, not all things that walk in the woods want to be found. And some things may never let you leave. Mystery number 4. The vanishing jet of the Mojave Desert. In the vast, desolate Mojave Desert, the silence can be so oppressive, so absolute, that it feels like the land itself is holding its breath. The mountains, scorched by the sun and dusted in, endless shades of brown, stretch out beneath an unforgiving sky. But even in this barren wilderness, the air vibrates with something that cannot be explained. It starts with a dot in the sky. It is just another jet, cutting through the crisp morning air, trailing a contrail so clean and sharp it could have been drawn with a knife. But then, just as quickly as it appeared, the contrail vanishes. It does not fade, it does not disperse. It simply stops, midair. One moment, it is there. The next, it is gone, erased like a line drawn with an invisible pencil. This strange phenomenon has been reported time and time again over the years, from the high desert to the restricted airspaces near Edwards Air Force Base and the infamous Mojave Air and Spaceport. Pilots, plane spotters, and ham radio operators have all seen it, jets that fly in a perfect line, only to disappear without a trace. There is no crash, no roll, no dive, just the sudden end of the trail, as if something, or someone, is pulling the strings behind the curtain. The first documented instance anyone can point to occurred in 1977. A ham radio operator monitoring UHF frequencies reported a fast mover shooting north over Cohen Dry Lake. He stepped outside just in time to see a small delta-shaped silhouette in the sky. The contrail was sharp, clean, but then, without warning, it simply vanished. The radio operator did not hear the plane's engines fading into the distance. It was not a gradual disappearance. It was as if the plane had been erased from existence. As the years went on, more people began to notice the strange occurrences. In the 1980s and 90s, serious aircraft watchers and photographers began to hone in on the specific flight patterns of jets through the Mojave. They knew when the skies above Edwards Air Force Base would be clear, when test flights were scheduled, and where they could catch a glimpse of military jets running low-level passes through Rainbow Canyon at dusk. But sometimes, no matter how advanced their equipment, or how carefully they tracked the movements, there was always that one jet that would disappear from their view. No roll, no dive, no sound, just silence. It is as if the plane had slipped into a dimension where it could not be seen. One mechanic from Ridgerest posted about an encounter in 1999 that still haunts him. He was watching a twin-tailed jet cross south of Toronto. It peeled left, leveled off, and then, in a blink, its contrail shortened and disappeared without a sound, without a trace. The image is still online, preserved on a forgotten forum. The mechanic insists that the plane did not turn, climb, or dive. It just kept its same trajectory, and then, as if someone hit pause, it was gone. Many theories exist to explain these vanishing jets, ranging from temperature inversions and contrails cutting off at moisture boundaries, to military transponders going dark in restricted airspace. These are all plausible explanations, but they do not account for one unsettling detail: the silence. In 2004, a scanner hobbyist recording audio from a high-altitude run caught something that should not have been there. The audio feed was clear, with a standard pilot conversation, but at a precise moment, there was a carrier hiss, followed by a perfect, sudden silence that lasted exactly 5 seconds. When the audio returned, the jet and the contrail had disappeared. No sound, no sign of the aircraft, just an eerie, quiet. Some insiders from the area, like a retired range controller who worked in the Mojave during the early 2000s, have suggested that these disappearances might be part of a secret military program, a project so classified that the military deliberately keeps it off the books. These insiders speak of skin paints on radar, a term used when something solid appears on the radar but then vanishes as if it was never there. But no matter how many times the phenomenon is explained away, there is always that lingering feeling, the feeling that something unexplainable is happening in the Mojave. When you stand beneath the sharp white line of a jet's contrail and watch it vanish without warning, you can't shake the eerie sense that you have just witnessed something that should not exist. And it is not just the jets that vanish. In 2019, a group of astrophotographers aiming to capture the Milky Way's beauty saw something strange through their cameras. In the middle of their 30-second exposure, a luminous curve streaked across the sky, steepening as if a craft were pitching upward only to terminate mid-frame, as if something had snipped the sky in half. No clouds, no other traffic. Just a streak that ended so suddenly that it was as if the sky itself had closed up shop. The Mojave Desert is full of secrets, buried in its endless stretches of sand and its jagged mountain ranges. And some of those secrets might be flying overhead, just out of reach, waiting for someone brave enough to look up and see them. Mystery number 5, the horn with no ship. Along California's fog-covered coast, there is a sound that cannot be explained. It is a deep, resonant horn that rises from the dense fog, a sound so pure and steady that it feels almost unnatural. But the most unnerving part, there is no ship to claim it. It is a mystery that has persisted for decades, a ghostly sound heard in the thickest parts of the fog, near Point Reyes, one of the most isolated stretches of coastline in California. The horn's mournful tone echoes through the mist, undisturbed by any visible vessel. No ship's lights, no radar signals, no sign of life. Just the pure sound of a horn, a tone that feels older than the sea itself. The first mention of this strange phenomenon dates back to 1958 in the logbooks of the lighthouse keepers at Point Reyes. One assistant keeper, working the station before it was automated, wrote about the sound in a notebook: one prolonged blast, non-shed, source unknown, visibility 50 yards. The Coast Guard chalked it up to propagation, suggesting that the sound might have come from a freighter miles offshore, its horn bending around the point due to temperature inversion. But as the years went on, the sound kept returning always the same, always from the wrong direction. People who've been to Point Reyes during foggy nights swear they hear it, especially hikers walking along the Chimney Rock Trail. They describe the sound as a single, flawless tone, deep, steady, and completely devoid of distortion. The kind of sound that seems to float in the air, suspended, like it is coming from somewhere ancient and far away. But the strangest part, no one can pinpoint its source. On a foggy night in 1972, a ham radio operator recorded the sound by accident. He was taping a segment for a community radio show when, at the 2-minute mark of the recording, a deep, clear tone cut through the static. It was not distorted, was not clipped, just a pure note that held steady for several seconds before fading away. When engineers analyzed the recording, they could not match the tone to anything they knew. It was not a foghorn, it was not the usual shipping sounds, it was something else. The mystery deepened in the years that followed. Kayakers launching from Drake's Estero, a mile off the coast, have reported hearing the horn in the fog. It moves, almost like it is circling them, first behind them, then ahead, then off to the side, all within a matter of minutes. And when they radio the Coast Guard, the response is always the same. Nothing. No ship, no distress signal, no explanation. Fishermen have heard it too, sometimes in the early hours of the morning, when the fog is thick and the ocean seems to hold its breath. But when they try to locate the source, they find nothing. The horn seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It is a sound that defies reason. The Coast Guard has insisted it is just a natural phenomenon, caused by sound waves bending in the fog. But those who've heard it, really heard it, know there is something more. The sound seems too perfect, too deliberate to be a fluke of nature. And why does it always happen in the same places? Why does it always seem to happen in the dense fog around Point Reyes? Some believe that the horn is not just a sound. It is a call from the ocean to the coast, from something old and hidden in the depths. Locals have their own stories, passed down through generations. They say the horn is not a warning, it is a signal, a voice, trying to communicate something ancient and forgotten. And it is not just the sound itself that is strange. There is something about the way the fog behaves around it. When the horn sounds, the world feels different. The air becomes heavy, and the usual sounds of nature seem to disappear. The waves fall silent. Even the sea lions stop calling. It is as if the entire world is holding its breath, waiting for the sound to return. But what if the horn does not just call from the water? What if it is not the ocean reaching out, but something else, something far older and more mysterious than anything we can imagine? Some believe the horn is tied to the ancient shipwrecks in the area, remnants of lost vessels that have become part of the landscape, buried beneath the sea and waiting to be rediscovered. Others suggest the horn is tied to the energies of the land itself, a force that defies human understanding. The horn with no ship is one of California's most haunting mysteries. It is not something you can explain away with logic or science. It is a sound that rises from the depths of the fog, from somewhere you can't quite reach, and for those who hear it, it leaves behind a sense of wonder and unease, as if the very air around you is alive with something ancient and unknown. Mystery number 6. The heat line of the Mojave Desert. The Mojave Desert is a place where the earth radiates heat so intense that it seems to shimmer and distort the very air above it. The land stretches out in every direction. A sea of dry sand, jagged rocks, and endless sky. Yet, if you stand in the right spot on a hot day, you might feel something you cannot explain. It is subtle at first, like a vibration, low, rhythmic, almost imperceptible. But once you feel it, you realize it is there, pulsing beneath your feet. This phenomenon, known as the heat line, has puzzled park staff, hikers, and even scientists who ventured into the Mojave for decades. It does not appear everywhere in the desert. But when it does, it seems to follow a strange pattern. There is a certain stretch of land, a particular spot in the sand, where the air vibrates with an invisible pulse. Some who've experienced it describe it as a rhythmic humming, like the pulse of the earth itself. It is a feeling that gets into your bones, creeping into your chest and your teeth, making you wonder if the land is alive, breathing beneath you. The first recorded instance of the heat line was in the 1940s. Surveyors working for the Union Pacific Railroad had been mapping land parcels when they noticed a strange phenomenon. Ground vibration present at a consistent pulse with no visible cause. The surveyors marked the location with a simple X on their maps, but it was not something they investigated further. It was just a strange note in their records, a footnote in a much larger, more mundane project. However, it would not remain unnoticed for long. Over the years, the reports of this strange vibration started to stack up. Hikers, park rangers, and desert explorers all began to report the sensation of something hidden beneath the sand, a pulse that they could not see but could definitely feel. It does not happen every day, and it does not follow a consistent pattern. Some days, it is completely absent. Other days, it feels as though the earth itself is humming beneath your feet. The feeling seems to come from nowhere and disappear just as quickly. Some claim it is a result of wind moving through underground lava tubes, remnants of ancient volcanic activity. Others suggest it could be seismic resonance, tiny earthquakes or tremors magnified by the hard, compacted desert bedrock. But none of these theories seem to explain the phenomenon completely. There is no clear cause, and the vibrations do not always match up with any scientific data, such as seismograph readings or weather reports. And then there is the line itself, the way it seems to lead you forward, pulling you in. People who have felt the hum describe an almost magnetic pull to the area of strongest vibration. They walk along its path, feeling the pulse increase as they get closer, as if it is calling them. One park volunteer, who was working a night patrol in 1998, reported experiencing it firsthand. His truck's radio cut out and the headlights flickered in sync with the hum that seemed to be coming from the desert floor. He got out of his vehicle, feeling the pulse in his chest, and followed it for nearly a mile. When the vibration suddenly stopped, he looked behind him to find that his tire tracks had vanished, as if the sand had swallowed them up. Other visitors who have camped in the Mojave have also reported the sensation while sleeping. A couple swore they felt the pulse beneath their sleeping bags, as if the earth was alive, moving under them. Another camper claimed that the vibration followed him, faint at first but growing stronger when he stopped moving, as if the pulse was keeping pace with him. In 2013, a geophysics student from UC Riverside brought specialized sensors to the Mojave to try to map the anomaly. He placed them along a 3-meter stretch of the desert floor, and recorded a ka, steady low-frequency signal, unlike any seismic noise previously cataloged. But when he reviewed the data, he noticed something even stranger. His GPS log showed that between two of the sensors, 3 minutes were unaccounted for. Both his watch and phone had skipped forward at the exact same time. Scientists are quick to dismiss the idea of something mystical or paranormal, opting instead for explanations rooted in physics, groundwater moving under extreme pressure, air pockets in the earth, or perhaps some undetected form of seismic activity. But for those who've experienced it, there is a deeper mystery. The hum does not just enter your ears, it enters your mind. It makes you feel disoriented, almost as if you are losing track of time. Some hikers claim that walking along the heat line makes them forget where they started, or feel as though they are being led somewhere without their consent, but to where no one knows. The heat line does not lead to any landmark. It just stops, abruptly. And when it does, the silence is so profound that it feels like the desert has swallowed the pulse along with it. The feeling of being led, the sense of losing time, dissipates. The hum disappears as suddenly as it arrived, leaving nothing but the scorching silence of the Mojave behind. Yet, in that stillness, one question remains. What exactly is calling people along the path of the heat line? And why is it that, no matter how many theories are proposed, the mystery of the Mojave's hum remains unsolved? The Mojave Desert is vast, its landscape so empty that it seems to stretch on forever. And yet, beneath the scorching sun and the relentless heat, it hides something that lingers just beyond the edge of our understanding. It is a place where reality feels thinner, more fragile, where the lines between what is known and unknown blur into a single mirage. The desert speaks, but it does not speak with words. It speaks in vibrations, in whispers carried by the wind, and in the strange pulses that seem to come from the very earth itself. The mysteries of California are not isolated to its mountains, forests, or coasts. They echo through the desert as well, where the heat distorts your vision, where the earth beneath your feet hums in a way that can't be explained. And in this landscape, the strange and unexplainable come alive, drawing those who dare to venture into its depths, into a world that is as beautiful as it is unsettling. In Joshua Tree, hikers vanish without a trace, their footprints inexplicably stopping mid-stride, as if they were erased by some unseen hand. In San Pedro Bay, a ghostly submarine drifts silently beneath the waves, evading all attempts to track it or even identify it. Along Redwood's towering trees, the faint sound of footsteps in the distance follows hikers, only to vanish when they turn around. And in the Mojave Desert, an invisible pulse, a humming vibration, leads those who feel it into the heart of the wilderness, where time and space seem to collapse into a disorienting, eerie reality. These are the stories that California keeps hidden, tucked away in its deserts, forests, and coasts. They are more than campfire tales or urban legends. They are mysteries that continue to defy explanation, drawing us back time and again to try and understand them, despite the fact that they may never be fully solved. But maybe that is the point. Maybe some things are not meant to be understood. Some mysteries are meant to exist in the spaces between what we know and what we cannot comprehend. And perhaps it is in these very places, the ones that seem to be frozen in time, caught between dimensions, that we feel most alive. So, as you stand on the edge of California's strange, haunting landscapes, remember, not everything you see can be explained. Some things are lost to time, some are lost to the land itself, and some will remain just out of reach. The desert whispers, the ocean hums, and the forests stand silent, guarding their secrets. While we may never fully understand the mysteries of California, one thing is certain: these stories are not over. They are still happening, just beyond the horizon, waiting for the next curious soul to step into their depths. Maybe the next one will be you.